Hello, farmers, and welcome to the harvest season. My name is Al.
My name is Brittany.
And we're here today to talk about farming games.
Yay!
Thank you, Brittany, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
On this week that Rochelle is not available. I always enjoy talking to you.
Me too.
About games. And I felt I really needed to get you on this episode because this episode is about Summer in Mara. And I know that you have been enjoying the game and looking forward to it.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's what we're going to cover today. Before that, we will talk about what we've been playing. We've got a bunch of news. And firstly, before all of that, I would like to announce that the harvest season is now on YouTube. So apparently some people like to listen to podcasts on YouTube. So we now have a YouTube channel. So there you go. It currently only has one episode on it because I've not had the time to go back and upload all the old ones, but I will get there, and that's all good. All new ones will be going on as they go up on the podcast feed, but at some point I'll be finding some time to upload the rest of them.
Neat.
So, Brittany, what have you been playing?
I feel like I've just been dipping my toes into a lot of things, but not spending too much time in them. I've been really into zombies as of lately. So I've been trying to play The Last of Us, the first game.
Right.
But it terrifies me. So I can only
That does seem like a problem.
Yeah. I can only do 5 or 10 minutes at a time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and other than that, I think just like a little bit of Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon here and there.
The new one.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
How about you?
Which is the old one.
Which is the old one, but is also a new one. But
yes,
gotta love remakes. Although, they did make a lot of improvements with that, so I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I hope they remake some of the older ones because I need more. I want them all on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean that's my feeling about most games. I want every game on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the graphics of it? Because I've heard some people complaining about how it looks, but I love the look of it.
I like the look of it. It's very cute. I feel like very much in theme of Missing Dungeon, so I've been enjoying it. Occasionally, there's a weird hue over the Pokemons, or they're kind of glowing, which confuses me. But I try not to pay attention to that too much.
There might be a reason, and you just missed it.
Possibly, but they all do it, so I don't know.
It's like when you have a game and there's items in your inventory and some of them are blue or something. You're like, what on earth does that mean? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It means something. They've not told me what it is, though.
Or maybe you didn't, I forgot, or I missed it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's probably more likely with me.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Presumably you've been playing some Summer in Mara as well.
Oh, most definitely.
Good.
Mm-hmm. How about you? What have you been playing?
Oh, I have been playing quite a lot of Summer in Mara, especially the last few days. I got to the point on just 2 days ago where I was I feel like I'm really close to the end of the main story. And it's if I wasn't this close, I wouldn't be rushing it to try and get there for the podcast. But because I was so close, I was I just need to do this. So I've spent so much time the last couple of days playing that and getting there. And I did get there. I got to the end of the main story 2.5 hours ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I started playing, and this was part of my issue, I started playing Friends of Mineral Town when it came out.
Nice.
And had too much fun. It's one of these issues is my favorite farming game is always the game I'm playing if I enjoy it. So I started playing Friends of Mineral Town after maybe 10 hours of Summer in Mara or something. And I was no, I'm definitely enjoying this more than Summer in Mara. And then I was no, but I need to stop. I need to play that game more before the podcast, even if I don't end up enjoying it as much. And so I put down Friends of Mineral Town, picked up Summer in Mara again and went, no, this is a great game. I love this game. Why did I put the game down? So yeah, it's it's always difficult.
I feel that. It's very easy to get sucked into things, especially farming games, because there's always task after task, and then it's I could put it down right now, but also I could just walk a few more steps to do this one other thing, and then something else comes up.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm just gonna finish this day, and then you go to bed and you're like, oh well, I'll just go check on my crops, and it's like nearly at the end of the day again. It's dangerous. Yeah.
Yep. And I definitely felt that urge to kind of rush the plot a little bit because I could feel the end, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, it helps that there's progress bars along the quest.
Yes, right. Let's not talk about that just now, because that is something I definitely want to talk about. But we need to get in through the news first, because there are some really exciting news things. But yes, let's bring that up when the time comes, because that is a very good point. I think that's mostly what I've been playing, the two of them, and presumably I will put down Summer in Mara and go back into Friends of Town, and that will be my favourite again. And then at some point I'll come back and finish all the other quests in Summer in Mara, but I think I'll need a break from that now.
I feel like I need 100% it. I'm so close. I could feel it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish it and then maybe start Ooblets, because I don't have friends.
Ooblets. Speaking of Ooblets, shall we talk about some news?
Yes.
Because just a few days ago, or over a week ago if you're listening to this now, Ooblets came out in early access, and that's very exciting.
So exciting.
It's one of these things where I don't quite believe it's finally out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we can actually play Ooblets. I haven't done yet.
Nope. I've bought it because I know I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
But
Did you have the same thing as me where you had a voucher from months ago in Epic Game Store, or is that just me?
That might have been you. I think it was either on sale, and that's maybe why I just decided to go ahead and do it. Or maybe I did have a voucher. I don't know. It was discounted, so I jumped on that.
Yeah. I think it was a couple of months ago, if you did a specific thing, you got like a $10 off a $15 purchase on the Epic Game Store. But I don't tend to buy games on PC very much unless they're like really cheap. So I never went over that $15. But of course, the new Ooblets is $20, I think, which meant that it did count. And so I got that off and ended up spending like £5, which was very enjoyable to see. That
is very good.
So I finally used up that voucher that I got months and months ago.
Who would have predicted? Well, they've announced that they were going to use Epic for a while, so I guess you could have predicted.
Yeah, but I forgot about it. I went to go buy it and went like, wait, why is it so cheap? I was like, is the pound collapsed? I don't know. No, it hasn't. It's just that voucher. So that's good. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to this now, whenever you're listening to this, it's too late to go and buy Ooblets for the cheaper price. Sorry. Sadly. But you can still buy it for $25, which is still very good for such a, what looks like, lovely quality game.
Yep. Real excited.
Speaking of games that have been released, Friends of Town is also out.
Mm-hmm.
Story of Seasons, Friends of Town. So if you want to get that, you can get that on Switch or PC.
I do, but but there's just so many games that I have that I haven't played.
It's this time of year.
Me.
It's
it
dangerous.
It stop me from Ooblets, though.
Yeah.
It
was that sale. That was the thing. It was like $5 off if you buy it in the first week. That was the issue.
Yeah, exactly. That was the sale I think I got. not the voucher.
Well, you know you're going to play it at some point, right?
Exactly.
And if you have the money now, why not?
Mm-hmm. And we're supporting the developers, so it's all good cause.
Exactly. So go buy either of those games if you want to buy them, and let us know what you think and which ones you want the podcast to cover.
Yeah, or both eventually, maybe.
I mean, yeah. I've already got plans for one of them. We've already got a date in the diary for that one, but I'm not going to tell you which because I don't like to say too much beforehand.
I'm a fan of spoilers, but I will not force the audience to also hear spoilers.
It's fine. I'll tell you later. Next, we have some more information on Stardew 1.5, which is very small. So small that I can't remember when I'm looking at the tweet. I don't know. Anyway, there's something new with Willy, and Concerned Ape has said that the update will add a significant new piece of end game content and much more. So it's not very much information, but it is good to know that they're still working on that, and I'm sure we'll have our annual Stardew update at some point next year.
Nice.
The next, not actually some information, but some teasing information, is that Chibig?
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Chibig Studios, who are, if you're not aware, are the company that have made Summer in Mara, have announced they're working on their next project. That's it.
Yes. Exciting news.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It's too soon.
We'll see. We'll see. Literally no other information about that.
Yep. And it's coming in 2021, so you still have half a year to wait to just hear about it, I think.
Yes. 2021 is the information that's actually coming out. Who knows when the game is actually coming out?
It's a spoiler for more spoilers.
An announcement of an announcement. We love announcements of announcements. Stranded Sails have a new update. So if you like Stranded Sails, or if you want to like Stranded Sails, then you can try that out. I know a lot of people had issues with the base game, and they've added a lot of things from feedback from people, which is good.
It's always nice.
I have not properly played the game yet, and I don't think you have either, so we probably can't get into the actual updates because it won't make much difference to us.
But it's out there.
It is out there. Go get it. I own the game. I've just not played it yet because, as we've already discussed, there are too many games.
Too many games, not enough time.
Speaking of too many games, Littlewood 1.0 officially comes out on the 4th of August.
I have not played this yet, but this is also another game that I need to play.
Is this one, are you waiting for it on Switch?
I mean, at this point, I might as well.
Yeah. When I was talking to Sean, who makes the game last year, I think he'd said that probably a few months after 1.0 comes out is when Switch would come out, but who knows?
Ooh.
So we'll see.
Okay.
I will definitely be buying it on Switch, even though I own it on PC, because it's a great game. I love it, and I very much look forward to playing it on the Switch, and I'm sure I'll spend much more time playing it on Switch than I would ever have done on PC.
Sometimes you just need lots of options. I think I have Stardew on 3 different platforms, so I'm not one to judge.
It wouldn't be the first game that I owned on multiple consoles,
Yep.
multiple systems. I think that's all the news. So lots of updates and lots of releases.
Exciting. Too many games, but it's all
We shouldn't complain. We definitely shouldn't complain.
No.
So we're going to talk about Summer in Mara, which we have both been playing for quite a while. Brittany, did you just buy it when it came out, or had you kickstarted it as well?
I kickstarted it.
You kickstarted it because it was quite a big Kickstarter when it launched.
Oh yeah, and I think it last year that it started with Kickstarter. Was that 2019? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, January 2019. Because it was almost exactly the time when we launched this podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I think that can either be a good or a bad thing, or it can be both. Like, because obviously it can be a good thing because they get lots of money, but also it creates lots of expectations. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the expectations have been met with this game.
I agree. And also, like, in anticipation of this game, I know that they had another game by G-Big in the same universe, so I had gone ahead and bought that game to play as well. I didn't finish it ever, but I played enough of it to know and to recognize some of these characters that are in the same universe. So I would say maybe it was better that it was on, at least for me, it was on Kickstarter because it led me to look into the company a little bit more and check out some of their other games.
Yeah.
Well, I think the only other game they have, which is
I think there was one before Dealand, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
But I don't think they talk about it much. It's probably one of these things where it's like, it was our first game, it got us started, but we don't really like it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to do our usual sort of covering the game. We're going to talk a wee bit about the story. We're going to talk about the mechanics, the things we like, the things we don't. We'll cover some of the characters, although there are, as with every game, too many characters to cover them all in detail. But I'm sure there'll be some interesting things. We will try not to spoil too much, but as with everything, be aware that it is a very heavily story-driven game, and if you are the sort of person that goes, "Oh, I consider that a spoiler," stop listening now and go play the game, because we will accidentally spoil some things. We're not going to talk about the climax of the story, the main story. But in talking about the characters and in talking about the mechanics, we will necessarily have to spoil some things.
Yep.
So that's your warning. Don't come complaining to us when you're like, "Oh, I didn't want to know that. That's a big spoiler for me." Tough love. This is why this part of the podcast is always at the end, so you can listen to the beginning and then leave this for later. It wouldn't be the first time that I had a podcast sitting in my podcast app for months because I'm waiting on something. I listen to a couple of film review podcasts, and the amount of times I've been, no, I will wait with that one, and I'll wait till I've watched it, and then I'll come back to it. Just happens all the time for me.
Makes sense.
Cool. So I guess let's start off with the story. So there's always a fun premise with these ones. And the premise with this is that there was you see, it's a really nice kind of cinematic intro, and a boat explodes, and there's a baby in a boat basket that kind of floats towards this character that you later find out is called Haku, and the baby in the boat turns out to be you. There's a lot of kind of implications around this, but basically Haku raises you as her granddaughter. And you start out the game. The tutorial is when you're a little bit younger than the rest of the game, and Haku kind of goes through kind of the usual things of how to farm and what to do around the island and stuff. And then it pauses there and it transports. I think it explicitly says 2 years later, but I can't remember very well.
I definitely don't remember that because I was very confused about why. Spoiler, Haku disappears.
Yeah. So it transports you 2 years into the future. Haku has disappeared at some point. Don't know when. It's obviously not right then because Koa, who's the character, clearly knows what to do and is living on the island on her own at this point. Who knows for how long? It could have been, 1 year, 364 days, or it could have been a few months, I guess. And then this other character shows up, Napopo, who's a mute character, but you eventually manage to communicate, and it turns out that Napopo needs your help. So that's where you fix your boat, and the story starts there, basically. The game starts there.
See, one part of the tutorial was to lit the fire on top of the mountain, I guess, on the home island. And I kept doing that because I didn't realize that Haku had disappeared, so I kept waiting for her to come back.
Yeah. I really want to do a proper spoiler episode at some point because I have so many thoughts about the kind of end game story bits.
It's real good.
It is interesting, and certainly at the beginning there's no kind of explanation. It's just Koa's just here, and it's just Haku just isn't there anymore, doesn't exist. And that does seem very suspicious at that point. But let's talk about the tutorial, right? Because I think this is a really interesting way of doing a tutorial. I kind of liked it.
I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it. Yeah, didn't dislike it. As far as tutorials go, it was fine. It probably had a bit too much dialogue, but it wasn't too bad. I'm always going to think these things have too much dialogue, but it's because dialogue never moves as quickly as I want it to. It's I always want it, as soon as I press the button to move on to the next dialogue, I want it to already be there. I don't want to have to wait for words to come up. So that's always my issue. But it's quite good. It gets you through the basics of farming and the trees and stuff like that.
And I was already kind of ahead of the game with playing Dalen because it's pretty similar mechanics. I think for the most part, it's all the same.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
I do need to play that game at some point then.
It's really cute. I like it. At least I definitely haven't finished it, but it seems to be less story based.
Right.
I know there is more exploration, I think, coming as you unlock more things, and that might lead to more story. But I think for the most part, you're just kind of like hanging out on your tiny little round planet.
So I guess we'll go through some of the mechanics then. So there's the usual farming. You know, there's a couple of interesting things I think about the farming that make this different. So one is that you don't need to water your crops, which I really like.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like set it and forget it if you spend too much time away from your island.
Exactly. That's what it's really nice. Like I think I was thinking about this, and it's not just that it makes the game easier or it makes it allows you to leave the island without worrying about your plants. I feel like it adds to the kind of key aspect of why I like farming games, and it's the lack of stress, right? Mm-hmm. And the watering has always been the kind of weak link in that, where if you forget to water, at some point your crops are going to die. Yep. Or at least they're not going to grow. And obviously, you know, the first one is worse there, but like that's always been an issue for me. And like, you know, take for example, when I was playing Friends of Mineral Town last week, I went to upgrade my watering can and then realized the next day was a day that the place that upgrades the watering can was closed. So I couldn't get it back that day. And then the next day was a festival. So I couldn't get it back that day. So I had 2 days of not being able to water my plants. And I was really worried because I hadn't figured out, you know, how many days in this game are you allowed to not water it before they die. And I was really worried about that. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really nice to play a game where that isn't a thing you have to think about.
Mm-hmm. And at least not to my knowledge, the crops never will either. So you can just leave them there. Even when they're done fully growing, they still won't die. Yeah. And I feel that a lot of the mechanics kind of tie into the overall story of Mara and like the mystical aspect of it, and just how that if you treat the island, if you take care of the island will take care of you. And I feel like every mechanic kind of ties back into that and tries to make it as realistic to being and living there as possible, which I also enjoy.
Yeah, I guess it's because I also noticed that there's no seasons or anything, so everything can grow in every season because everything can grow all the time, and that's a kind of similar thing. It's just not thinking about that. Now that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a tropical island, so I would assume it's probably pretty consistent year round too.
Well, yeah, you say that, right? But the whole place basically has the same sort of topography.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, one thing you realize quite late on is that the map that you have is the entire planet, because you can go side to side and wrap round the map. You can't go top to bottom, but I suspect that's because there's poles there and you can't just go over the top. So maybe it's not 100%, like there would be different weather up the top if you could go there, and I guess there is an iceberg. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm talking nonsense.
Well, like I might be jumping ahead a little bit too, but I would be interested to see if the other islands that had crops, if they were kind of like along the same latitude lines, if they were kind of close to the center. So maybe that would reinforce that, yes, there are no seasons because you're literally on the equator.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, that would make sense. But the other thing, the water thing adds in that I find interesting is the fact that there is very limited water on your planet, on your island. So you can get a certain amount of water after it rains, and once you've used up that water, that's it. You've used up that water.
Which again is very realistic to realize.
Yes, of course. I love it. But the only way they can make that work is because of the not needing to water it every day. Otherwise, it would be incredibly stressful.
Yep, indeed. And at least comparing it to Dayland and Mara, it definitely rains a lot more often in Dayland than it does in Mara. And there's like an interesting mechanic that you can control the axis of the planet. So you can move the planet so that the clouds are falling on top of your crops and then moving onto your wells to refill your wells.
Oh, my.
It's quite fun. So I missed that mechanic. From Mara. I just wanted to like move everything around.
I did end up,
please rain on my crops.
Yeah, I did end up like building loads of wells, so I never ran out of water.
I I got tired of building them after a while, so I did run out at times.
So there's that. But the other interesting thing that I guess other games have, but not to this level, is it's very restrictive in terms of how much plot you have to grow things on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can expand it. Like there are parts that you can tidy up and turn into farmland, but I think it's at most 16 plots.
Yep.
Which is quite restrictive.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting that they didn't bring to here that Dalen had was that you could upgrade the plots, so you can increase the efficiency of the number of plants or the number of fruits and vegetables that were being produced from that one plot of land. So I kind of missed that because throughout the game you would only ever get 4.
That's not true. If you put fertilizer on it, you get more.
Well, I didn't understand the fertilizer, so I didn't use it.
Well, there's your problem then. Yeah, if you made fertilizer, it would show up in a little plot next to your original well, and you could take it from there, run over like with water, and then when you harvested them, they'd have more. But one confusing thing about it is that you only had a certain amount of time to fertilize it. Like I think I think it was maybe like 1 or 2 days. It was probably a percentage of the time that you needed to grow the whole thing. But once those days were over, you couldn't then fertilize it. Which makes sense because otherwise you would just do it on the last day, right?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think that's partly why I didn't want to keep using it. I didn't understand why it sometimes worked and it didn't work.
Yeah, that'll probably be why then. But yeah, it dramatically increased it as well. The number you got out.
I did not notice that. I thought for whatever reason there was some sort of quality that it would maybe you would get more money out of it. I have no idea. I've obviously I missed the number when you would harvest it.
Yeah, that is an interesting point, and this is kind of one of my gripes. Is that if you're holding down the Y button, because until the end of the game, it takes a couple of hits to harvest things. If you're holding down that button, once it's harvested, you'll go automatically into the plant menu, so you have to choose what you're wanting to plant next. But if you do that, you are never able to see how many you harvested that time. You'd have to remember how many you had of that crop and then look in your menu, because basically the plant menu would come over it, and then by the time you got rid of it, the number had gone, so you couldn't actually see how many you did if you did that. I found that annoying.
Yeah, it would be nice to have, I think, next to the inventory, either looking at the seeds or at the grown plant itself, if it could show how many seeds you had versus how many you had in your inventory already. That would have been a nice quality of life improvement.
Yeah, because I guess one of the things that this game does interestingly compared to other games is that it shows you in the overworld, there's like a heads up display almost of what you have planted where and how many days left it is till it grows, which I quite like.
I do. Mm-hmm.
That was really nice, because you could easily look around and see, all right, okay, so I've got my wheat there, that's got 4 days to go. I've got my watermelons there, they've got 6 days to go. My onions are over there, they've only got 1 day to go. That was always nice to see.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of helps with planning too, even though the seeds themselves I don't think tell you how long they take to grow, which I guess makes sense because it depends on how often you water them. So I don't think we ever explained that too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the of watering the plants is that it sucks it from the life of the plant of the growing process. It just disappears.
Negative way to put it.
It steals it.
Yeah, it speeds up the growth by 1 day.
Yeah, that's a nicer way to put it.
So if you're watering it every day, you basically half the number of days to grow something, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm. And the inventory is kind of interesting and different from maybe, I think, some of the other farming games I've played, but it's just one inventory. You don't have to worry about managing different chests or just managing your inventory. It's categorized, but it's all in one place for the most part. Yeah, that was nice mostly. I do like to organize things, so it got a little
I'm never a
overwhelming
huge fan of that.
Towards the end.
But in general, it was pretty nice. Because I like not having to think about what I've got in my bag. Although
sometimes I would forget what category it would be and then have to keep flipping back and forth.
Yeah, their categories were interesting, and a lot of it made perfect sense, but some of it wasn't. So they had consumables, which is things you can eat, but they also had vegetables, which are not things you can eat specifically.
I never tried, so I can't confirm.
Yeah, so it's almost like, I don't know whether... Oh, no, yeah, so your consumables that are vegetables are also in there. I'm just flipping between them. I can see apple is both in consumables and vegetables. But vegetables also includes, plants that you can't eat, and also seeds, including seeds for trees and stuff like that. So it's quite an expansive one. Also mushrooms and stuff that you can't eat on their own, but you can turn into things that you can eat. So they're a vegetable, but not a consumable. And then you had materials, which is reasonably self-explanatory. And then you had sea, which was all of the fish and things you get out of the sea, but also all the bait you use for it. And then special, which is basically everything else.
Yep. So there is some variability in the clothes that you can wear. Not a lot.
Yes.
But that's the backpacks and the outfits, because it's not individual pieces of clothing that you get to pick from its outfits you're choosing from, would all fall under special as well.
Yeah. Most of it makes sense, but yeah, there were some that were a bit confusing in terms of, what would be in which menu. So it's interesting you bring up the clothes, right? Because there isn't a huge number of them, but actually I felt like it kind of fit nicely, because it was like, these are all things that you could see Koa wearing.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. So, what did you end up choosing by the end of the game? What were you wearing?
I mean, I just kept switching it periodically. Let me see if I can count. Is that 8 or 9 outfits?
Something
8.
like that, yeah.
And I think just kind of depending on when I unlocked it, if I felt like I pretty much wore it as I unlocked it.
Fair enough. Once I unlocked the pirate one and I learned a bit of the story, I was like, I'm definitely a pirate.
I had a pirate stage. I had a navy phase. I'm currently in the chick outfit.
Right. So, anything else farming wise that would be interesting to talk about?
I guess there's different types of farming that you can do as well. Like, it's not just the farm plots, but you also have shrubs and trees. Some of the trees I never figured out how to actually plant. The high elevation ones. Where would they go?
On top of next to the shrine.
Oh my god! Why? I just ran up to the house. I was like, "This is the highest I can go."
Yeah. I did that initially, and then I was like, "Oh wait, no, there's the shrine up here. I can go."
The first thing I'm gonna do when we log off is go plant some things up there.
Yeah, so no, that is actually interesting, right? So there's essentially 3 different types of the trees that you can grow. Yep. There's the ones that you can grow on the beach. So there's bananas and coca beans. Pineapples. And then there's the ones that are kind of standard, where you just plant on grass, but at a normal elevation. So that's apples and oranges and cherries, I think.
Yes.
And then there are ones that you have to do on your top layer, which is interesting because that's very small, so you can get very limited. Like, I think I've maybe got 7 trees up there, and it feels quite crowded. Mm-hmm. So like pomegranate and peaches. I can't remember what else there was.
Peaches. I think some fruit, maybe. No, strawberries. Plot.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, so there's 3 different types essentially.
That area always felt like special. Like I shouldn't touch it, and that's I think why I didn't even consider it.
I get that. But so I found that interesting that there were different levels that you could put things on, and they work kind of similarly to how fruit trees work in other games, right? You plant them, and then after a while they create fruit and you pick it up, and then after a while they create more fruit and you pick it up.
Yeah, but there doesn't seem any rhyme or reason to it as far as I can tell. Like some trees will just produce fruit like almost every day, and then others you'll never see any fruit on them. Or like certain times of the day, and then by the time you run over, like it'll just poof, it's gone.
Oh yes, that was that. I don't know whether that was a bug or whether that's just a weird game mechanic where sometimes things would just disappear. I had it most with like the pine nuts and stuff like that. Like you would see one and you run over and it would disappear, and you're like, "What happened? Where did it go?"
So I think most of it, only if it fell off the tree would it wouldn't have a specific time on the ground, I think, that was available for you to harvest it. Which I guess kind of makes sense, because if it's on the ground, then it can rot or be eaten by other creatures. But at least in Dalen, the seeds would also fall to the ground and eventually, poof, go away. But
Yeah.
I don't think I ever did see like an acorn or that wasn't on my island that fell to the ground.
I think it was just fruit and
Yeah.
the seeds for trees.
Okay,
that I
so
found.
that's interesting.
None of the.
Well, maybe that's like a dispersing mechanic. Like, also, I'm getting way into weeds of science here. Like, it's a seed. It's gonna go into the wind. That's why it never falls to the ground.
I don't think it's going to get very far. It's a very small island with a lot of seed.
Hey, all these other tiny little islands have pretty much the same. There's a lot of acorns. There's a lot of other trees on there. They travel somehow.
True. I mean, I've been taking them places.
Also true.
So the next thing is that you can also get animals, which you get throughout the story. So as you go through the story, you unlock the ability to rebuild, because they'd been there before, but obviously they'd been run down. So you rebuild your chicken pen, your pig pen, and your sheep pen.
Sheep stable, which I was very confused why it was called that, because are they normally called stables? I have no idea.
I
thought we were getting horses, and I was really excited, but no.
What would be the point in a horse on such a tiny island?
Just to run
It's
around
like,
the island.
I can get from one end to the island in 30 seconds
Maybe
walking.
you could put on the boat. I don't know. Take it to other islands.
Right, we're gonna have to. Right, we'll get there in a minute.
there.
Right, so, so I find really interesting the animal mechanic. So there's a couple of things. So first of all, it's how you get the animals. So for those who haven't played the game, basically, a really big mechanic is you're in your boat sailing the seas, which we haven't even talked about, but we'll get to that. I need to write that down somewhere. If not, I do have it sailing later on. That's fine. But as you're sailing, once you've built the specific places for the animals to live, you can come across them abandoned at sea.
It's so sad.
Presumably fallen off a ship or something.
Oh no. There's so many of
but
them.
There are so many of them. We need to keep saving them. But essentially what you do is you float up to them and you can save them, and they come on your boat, and then when you get back to your island, they go and live on your island. Now, I really love this, right? Because you're not going and buying animals. You're saving ones that have been lost at sea.
Which I think goes back, it just ties into the theme of, like, you're taking care of this island, you're taking in these poor creatures that have somehow all ended up in the ocean. And you're saving them. Like, everyone that I saw, even if my island was overrun by this point, I've saved them all, because I could not just let them stay out there.
I know. And the problem, so what you would do is, if you'd get into like a part on the map, there would be a star on the map, and that would show you where an animal was. So it's like, whenever you go onto a map and you see the star, you're like, well, I'm not going in that direction, but I guess I am now.
And it sometimes disappeared, which like concerned me. It's like, oh no, why?
I think it would disappear when you got reasonably close to it, and then you'd have to look for it.
I think
yourself.
Like if I got too close to the island, if there was an island in that patch of, then like, or if some other thing kind of like popped up, or I don't know, just like disrupted your journey somehow, it would disappear. Or sometimes randomly. I have no idea, but I don't know. It would, even if it disappears, it's still in that area, so go look for it.
Yeah. Yes. So no, I really like that. That's really cool. And then so you bring them back to your island, and they live automatically in wherever it is they're meant to live. And then they have different things that they want to eat. So chickens eat corn, pigs eat carrots, and sheep eat wheat. And so what you do is you feed them. Again, like the crops, you don't have to feed them. They don't die or anything like that. I don't even know if they actually have a friendship level. I couldn't see any information, but after you feed them, they do have a little love heart above their head. They just kind of grow,
I think, after every time you feed them and pet them.
Yes. Yes, which again I don't think
Nope.
changes anything.
They're just they get bigger.
They just get
and
bigger.
If they're chicks, then they grow into hens, or I think they're all hens. I don't know.
Yeah. So when you feed one, it kind of goes, creates this line that goes towards the pen, and then it kind of adds on to a timer in it. And once you've hit 4, I think it is, you get some of their byproduct. And the number you get of their byproduct is based on how many you have. So if you have 4 chickens, you feed them all, and then you'll get 4 eggs at that point.
So I could only feed 4 and get all of the eggs for all of my chickens? What? I've been feeding them all this whole time? But
this is where it gets annoying, right? So if you feed 5 chickens and then you go get your eggs, the 5th one was essentially wasted. You should go get the eggs and then go feed the 5th one. And then you'd feed 3 more later on, and you'd then go get the 4. And then
I've been wasting so much food.
Yeah. This is why you Google everything, right? You learn all these interesting things.
This is amazing.
So you then also get into this ridiculous situation where I think you can do it twice a day. It might be more than that, but I certainly have only managed it twice, but I have managed it twice. So we'll do it once in the morning, once in the evening. And so it does get into the situation where if you have 8, for example, in the morning, you go feed 4, you get your 8, you feed the next 4, you get another 8. And then in the evening, you go feed 4, you get another 8, and then you feed another 4, and you get another 8. So you end up getting 32 of the byproduct if you have 8 and you do it properly.
I have not been doing it properly. I've only been feeding them once a day. I've been feeding all of them. I've been so low on all my veggies.
I'm basically only growing those vegetables now, right? Because you use so many of them up. But you get so much byproduct. And truffles from the pigs sell for like 63 or something like that.
Everything. I'm going to have so much money.
So that's 2,000 coins you can get just from pig truffles in a day. So the other thing that I've not actually checked, do you know if there's a max number of animals you can get?
I'm not entirely sure because I feel like I've definitely hit it. But I still see creatures occasionally out in the ocean, and I am still saving them all.
So I've at this point I think I have 8 chickens and 7 pigs and 4 sheep, I think. And I've not seen any more chickens, but I don't know whether that's a coincidence or whether 8 is the max.
I probably have at least 12 chickens.
Okay, so it's just coincidence probably.
Yeah. And I think pretty sure I have nine pigs. Oh, and at least with the pigs, at least with the chickens and the sheep, there is no enclosures to keep them in, unless, of course, I've never tried to build them a fence, but I just assumed they would escape anyway.
I've seen them walking through fences.
But that's also the fence that's already on your island, so I never quite tested this out.
I knocked it down, though. Did you knock that one down? I knocked that one down.
Oh. No, I didn't. I haven't destroyed anything on my island.
But you got to remake it in your own image, right? Haku's not here anymore. I don't care what she wanted for this island. I'm gonna make it like I want. I get rid of all the fences. I don't have any fences left on my island.
I didn't even consider that I could destroy them. Oh, that's gonna change everything because I hate having to like run around the plots.
We have very different views on these things, but yeah, if you get rid of, because they have fences between the plots, if you get rid of those, right, I'm going to blow your mind here. If you get rid of those fences between the plots, you can run down between the plots and water both at the same time. And
with like one bucket of water?
Yeah.
What?
So you can get some water, run down in between 2, run across and run up between the other 2, and you can water all your plants with 1 bucket of water.
I've been doing everything wrong. It's fine. I beat the game. This changes everything.
Yeah, you're definitely 100%ing this, aren't you?
I am so
After all
100%ing. And like this is a spoiler, but I need to raise a lot of money for one of my end game quests, and
Yeah.
this is all this information is gonna expedite that process.
You can do it almost entirely with pig truffles.
Well, that was my plan, but I kept running out of carrots because I was feeding them all.
Grow more carrots. You can also, with the amount of money you get from pig truffles, you can probably just go buy carrots.
Yeah, but I've been trying to be well. I would have bought them, but then fed them all to all of my pigs. So really,
You would have wasted some.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The other thing I've noticed, and I have no idea how this happened, but there's a dog on my island.
yeah, I think it's somehow it
It
gets
just
there.
appeared.
There's also a rat in your, not mine, but like the little pathway to the fountain.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
I've
that
not
just
seen that.
randomly appears. You can feed it cheese. I have not because there is no benefit
Yeah.
really to feeding these pets other than
I fed the dog because I had some apples and I was like, you know what, why not? But I'm not going to make cheese for the rat. Come on.
yeah.
And we both know that Rochelle will have fed both of them, even though there's no benefit,
See,
just for the sake of feeding
I've
them.
fed rats on other islands. I've definitely fed them, but I want a friendship bar because I want to feel like my feeding them is helping me gain a connection to them.
You need a number.
I do.
You need a number somewhere.
Or just like show, like, I don't know, have them like evolve into like a different type of rat. I don't know. I want to see a physical representation of my love to these animals.
A different type of rat.
Yes. It's a
Like a
pink one.
bipedal one.
Maybe. Yes, that starts talking to me.
Oh dear. Right. That's animals, I think.
Yep.
Well,
So there's other animals on other islands that you could also feed, like squirrels.
Yeah. The squirrels annoy me.
Squirrels are so cute. I wish I could take one back. If I could take back to my island, it would have been a squirrel. A blue squirrel that looks like it's an alien. It's on this planet.
Yeah. There's also rabbits that run away from you no matter how fast you run.
Them and kept failing.
So much. It's like if I just catch up with it, something will happen.
Nope.
No, nothing happened.
Sadly. And there's like other chickens and pigs and sheep on other islands that you can also feed, but they won't give you anything.
I know. I found that out the hard way, and I was like, "Well, I'm never going to feed you again." Then.
Yes.
So the next thing is crafting. So I've written in the show notes here compared to Portia, because it strikes me as like if you were to take Portia, because I feel like I compare in my head this game to Portia a lot, right? Did you ever play Portia?
I have not. That's also on my list of things to play. Because I want to play on Switch, but I know it's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, whenever I'm playing this game, I'm comparing it to Portia as if you take Portia and then take out all the bad bits and make it a good game. Which is probably a bit harsh, but that's how I feel about it. I never really liked Portia, which you probably know.
Yes.
But the crafting system in particular reminds me a lot of if you were to take Portia's one, but then make it good. Because, one of the things that I really hated about Portia is the chain of crafting, where you have to like craft something to craft something else to craft something else to craft something else.
Mm-hmm.
And this game has that as well, but it works so much better in my point of view, because you have to like make a bunch of as you progress through the story, you have to make other things. So you have to make like a mill to make flour. You have to make some other things that are escaping my brain at this point.
Like a freezer.
Yeah, the freezer. That's a good one.
Oven.
Although you don't technically make the freezer. You just put it down. But
That's true.
so you make all these things, but then you don't have to go to those individual things to craft something. Mm-hmm. It's all in the same crafting menu, which I really like. So you go into your crafting menu and you've got all of the things you can make,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have to guess essentially what it is. I guess it's a lot similar to how Stardew does it, because it does the same thing where you gain the ability to craft other things, but it's just your list just gets longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very streamlined. Like it's definitely all in one location. Like you can usually access any menu, like category or page just by toggling between like L and R, which is always nice. Like even when you go into your house, which is where the tools, the workshop, the kitchen, and your sleeping arrangements are located, you could just press L and R to switch between the workshop and the kitchen, which is very nice. You don't have to like exit out to go back in or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can also increase the output of what you craft.
Yes.
Which is very helpful.
Animal Crossing, you need to learn from this.
Yes.
One thing that I have found a little bit annoying though is that if you increase to the number that you can't do, it'll tell you how many you have out of how many you need. Mm-hmm. But if you're on one you can do, it will just tell you how many you need and that you have that many. It won't tell you how many you have.
Yep.
Right? So if you say, for example, you need 5 silver ore to make a silver bar, when you go into it, it'll say 5 and you can do that. If you increase it, it'll say 10. If you then have 14, you have to go up to the third one to see that you don't have enough to do the third one. And that is such a small thing, but it's so annoying.
It's so annoying. Like I don't like one useful item that's gonna be needed for a lot of things is thread. So you will be making lots of cotton. You will be growing lots of cotton and making lots of thread. So there's been so many times where I've maxed out like either rope or one of the other crafting that uses thread, only to realize that I have no thread left to fish with.
So annoying. Yeah, so just say 13 out of 10. That's all you need to do.
Yes.
Such a small addition, it would make life so much better.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm really nitpicking here, right?
I know. Like you could just grow more or buy some more. It's not a big deal. But
I think that's kind of where you know it's a good game, is when we're nitpicking on the small things, because it's like there's so much about this that we love that we then looking to find the things that annoy us. This is probably the one thing that was most annoying to me. Yes,
agreed. Because I would often just like toggle up to see how many I could make, and then like toggle back down and think like, oh, this is fine. This
I do that so much.
Yeah.
The other thing is there's only one place where you can craft non-food things.
I mean, you can build things. I have never tried to build anything on like Callus. Callus?
Callus? I don't know.
Let's go with Callus. Callus? Well, the main island that most of the characters that you'll be interacting with are on.
Yeah. I don't think
but I'm
you can.
assuming you could maybe. Okay.
But no, it was more in terms of like crafting other things, right? Like I'm in Callus and I need some thread. I'd have to go back to my home island to craft it and then come back.
I did find out Akila, what's her name? Akaji. Akaji. She has a workshop in her area, in her shop.
Oh,
it's behind her. It took
what?
I didn't find out until the end of the game, basically. But I was like exploring, like there has to be something here that I can maybe use. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe there is a workshop, and I just thought I would check, and there is one.
Oh no! But you know the really annoying thing about that is that that closes at 6.
Yep, or it closes at 5.
So it doesn't actually.
1700.
I found this out.
Really?
It doesn't. 1700. It means that it's open for the whole hour of starting with that. So I actually ran up to it, and it was like 5 to 6, and it was still open. And then when it hit 6, the gates closed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well.
I don't know whether that's a bug or not, but
maybe, because I don't think any of the other shops allow you to do that. Like I know Eldegon, which is the bank or banker.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he
it could be a bug then, but I did notice that was a possibility. That's really annoying. So I don't know whether that might have been added with the update, because I know the update added in a separate cooking thing as well. So down by Bram, there's now a thing there you can cook. Yeah.
Really? Where?
So just you know where Bram stands.
Yeah.
There.
Like you talk to Bram.
It's behind him. So there's like it looks like a smoker almost.
Oh, the oven! I did see the oven.
Yeah.
I never tried interacting with it.
Yeah,
oh,
so
no.
that was a new thing in the most recent update.
That's a really nice quality of life. Maybe they added the workshop after.
It's possible, yeah.
Because I feel like I might have noticed it when I first. When I first found Akaji, I pretty much went all over her little shop because there's some goodies in there that you can take from her.
No! Can't believe that.
Like there's some minerals you can mine, and there's some things this is like another thing that I have quite a problem with, like just like thematically. Like you can steal from other people on the island.
I love it. It's great. And it's not just that, right? It's that I've just interacted with a workshop. That's really annoying. I'm so annoyed about that. Oh my word.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, so have you ever found there's a guy on an island, I can't remember which one,
with the crabs?
Who's standing next to a vegetable patch. And he says, so he's on two islands, I think. So the first one, he says, my father would be so proud of this vegetable patch. And then you can take everything from it. But then you find him on another, I'm assuming it's the same person, you find him on another island, and he says, nothing's getting my crops this time.
And then I harvest them immediately.
It's so bad.
There is a sign on one of the islands that says, don't turn the fire pit on. Did you do that?
Of course.
Okay, that was one rule. Like, it was a sign, so I did not do. I followed the sign. I did not turn it on.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Did it do anything?
I turned it on. Yeah. Nothing happened.
Oh.
It was so boring. I was expecting something to happen, and the fire was on, and that was it. Done.
I love it. I should have. Koa would have definitely turned it on. I should have been in character and turned it on.
Yeah, definitely. Where were we?
Crafting.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. So I was expecting that you would have found somewhere, and that would have annoyed me. But thank you for finding that out. It's fine. I annoyed you with the cooking one as well. So.
and yes, and every other mechanic that I like, the farming that I just never felt that I need to figure out.
Oh dear. So it does lead to we'll come to the quest in a minute. I think, is that everything? Anything else via crafting?
Just one more thing that I can complain about, but I think it's a very specific
Go
thing
for it.
I'm not sure if it's a bug. But I need to make flower pots, and there's only a big flower pot available in my crafting menu. And I don't know why. Like, I have in my inventory, I have a regular flower pot base. But in the catalog, I only see one for big flower pot base.
Have you tried crafting the big one and see what it comes out as?
I haven't, but like there's something end game that you will be building another structure on your island that requires flower pot bases. So I haven't tried to see if the big flower pot also would work.
I would try it if I were you, because I suspect it's probably just a naming issue.
But it looks different. Yeah.
Oh, does it?
Like it's completely separate. Like they have two different icons.
I have no idea then.
I have no idea.
There are a few things I found in the game like that where it
just doesn't make sense.
Let's get into the quest bit, because I think let's get into the quest, because I'm going to need to lay some groundwork for this small complaint.
Sounds good.
So the quests is interesting. So the story is all through these quests, which you get, and there's loads of different ones, and there's loads of different branches of them. So when they're kind of based on people as well. So you have you have Koa's line, which is the main storyline, but you also have ones for all the other main characters. So like you have a Napopo line of quests, you have an Akaji line of quests, you have I was going to say Saime, but no, you don't. She's one of the few you don't have a line for. And it's mostly to do with like just doing menial tasks for them. But you learn a lot throughout them. And they rely on each other, so you can only progress each a certain amount before you have to do the other stuff.
Which is interesting. I like that.
But it is interesting, and it makes sense in a lot of ways, because like some things wouldn't, like There are a few that you can get before you're able to actually
Yep.
do them. So, like, for example, there's a point where with Caleb, you have to make a paella with
Yep.
pineapple, but you can only get pineapple in one place in the game, and it's right at the end of the game you can get it. So
Yep.
I had this quest in my inventory
Oh my God, so
for
long.
like 20 hours of the game.
Yes, which I like. It's
Um,
I guess it's a form of like gatekeeping. I don't want to use that word, but it's a form of, I think, restricting and kind of guiding you along in a sense.
yes.
Which I guess every game needs some sort of structure, so I don't hate it. But it can also be frustrating.
I actually like it in general. It's just that there were a few that weren't behind that flag. And it was just weird how there were some ones that you basically had to figure out whether you're able to do it yet.
Like, I did quite a bit of Googling to make sure I could
Yeah.
actually do that right now, or if I had to unlock something else. Because I think there was a time where
there weren't...
I did everything else other than like Koa's quest, and everything was like, advance the quest of Koa.
Yeah.
Advance the main storyline, which I was I was not.
Yeah, so I quite like how this works in general, and it's really interesting to do that. I think I was similar to you in trying to do everything before Koa, but then kind of when I got to the point of being quite close to the end, I then just plowed forward with Koa's
when
stuff.
I could taste the ends, it was Koa all the way.
But as we discussed earlier, I think we mentioned it, there's like a progress bar on each of them as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It's a really nice, I guess in a way you can almost look at it as a friendship bar, right?
Yeah.
Although there's like one or two characters where they only have one or two quests, so you get real friendly with them real fast.
Yeah. There's literally, there is one pirate. I can't remember which one. Is it Erity, I think? Where you literally have one thing.
Erity, yep.
Yeah, you encounter her and she says, "Never talk to me again," and that's it. Your friendship bar is full.
Oh, I love it. It's so good.
It was really funny. I actually, there's a lot of really good humor in this game as well. Yeah, I really like
enjoyed it.
So what was I going to say? There was some point that I was laying the groundwork for a point that I was going to say, and I can't remember
have
what
no
it was.
idea, but I have a point of my own.
Go for it.
Well,
then.
you kind of already mentioned it, but I think one of my favorite aspects of the quest is that some of them are presented in a way that they're advancing the same storyline. So they start each other, and you're trying to make them become friends and work together. And they only unlock as you complete one, like you work on one character and then you work on the other, which I thought was like an interesting way to continue the storyline because they're intertwined, right?
Yeah, no, I like that. That was quite good. I think I know the particular one you're talking about. And yeah, they you kind of have to. I think they start off very separate, and you can advance them all quite a lot. But then, as the story progresses, it's like you do one, and then you have to do the next one to do the other one to do that one. But yeah,
I can see
really
one
like that
complaint
storyline.
for the quest being that there's so much running back and forth between islands or between characters.
That's what it was. Yes, that's what it was. That was my point. There is so much running backwards and forwards.
And Koa herself makes a comment about that in the beginning of the game. Like, I don't want to help these people anymore. Just talk to them, talk to each other.
Yeah, it's really, it's kind of, I mean, it wasn't so annoying. It's just kind of like when you get kind of halfway through the game, you're like, I'm spending kind of 80% of my time just traveling in the game. Now, it probably is important to note that the update does include a fast travel, but it costs money.
Well, and that's only to one island, right? The Callus.
Yeah.
Really?
No. You can now, if you go onto the map, you can choose a square.
I didn't check that out.
But it costs more money depending on how far away you are from that.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, I guess late game, like you tend to have a little bit more money, and if you're doing the farming right, then
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a real complaint. It's just more like, I get it. It makes sense lore-wise.
Mhm.
It's just a bit annoying. Like, it's the first time I've ever had a fast travel option in a game that costs you in-game currency.
Yeah. See, I think I was kind of on the same mindset as Koa. Like, in the beginning, I was really frustrated with, like, even just on the same island as Kalis, having to run back and forth between, like, Samey?
Something like
that. Who lives, like, in, like, the tallest part of this island, and then having to go to the direct opposite of her on the other end of the island, and having to go back and forth between these two characters was quite annoying. But towards the end, I don't know, I was kind of at peace with it. Like, I'm creating communication and relationships, so I don't care so much. It's like, now it's kind of peaceful.
Yeah. I also feel like I need to do a Rochelle here and say that it's probably because we're trying to rush through it.
Yeah.
In that if you're just kind of going along and doing a few things when you go to Callus, and then you're going to go home and do some other stuff, you're not going to notice it as much. I think it's more just like, I want to do all of these and finish this quest.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it really becomes annoying. And if you're trying, not really speed running it, but you're just trying to finish it, rather than just kind of going along with it, then it's probably less annoying.
I think towards the end, it wasn't so much the time that was annoying me; it was the hunger aspect. So I don't think we quite covered the energy usage yet.
Go for it. Explain it.
So there's 2 bars for this Koa's stamina. There's her overall energy, and then like her belly, her stomach. So both cannot be empty ever. Like, one cannot, like, your belly can't be empty even if you have so much energy. You still need to feed yourself.
Yeah.
And the energy bar is always being used. There's, like, even just walking, running uses up energy. It's not just planting or farming or doing any other
and running does it really quickly as well, which is a bit annoying.
And I was annoyed that even walking sucks out energy.
Yeah, so you're walking and then it's like, oh, you're exhausted, and I'm like, but I can't. I need to get to
I'm
bed.
so close to my farm, just let me, like, crawl there, please.
Always have a sleeping bag on you.
And that was another thing. Like, I hated that the sleeping bag and the tent only had one use.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I ever used a sleeping bag, actually, because I didn't mix.
It's disposable culture.
Why did I not use it? I have so many of them. It didn't occur to me that I could use a sleeping, like, the tent makes sense. Like, yeah, I could just set up a tent right here, but I guess you can pull out your sleeping bag at any time as well. Well.
It's not as good. So you know how, I don't know whether you will have noticed this. It took me ages to realize. If you sleep in your house, it will fill up your energy to the top.
On your boat.
If you sleep in the boat, it will only fill it up to half.
No, I noticed that pretty quickly because I kept sleeping in the boat.
It's the same with sleeping bag and tent. Tent will fill it up to the top. Sleeping bag will only fill it up to half.
Mm-hmm. Which is, like, another, I think, mechanic that I really enjoy. Like, even the running energy, because it's so realistic. If you're on a boat, you're not going to have as great of a sleep as you would in your house. If you're sleeping in a tent or a sleeping bag, it's not going to be as restful as if you were in your own house. So that it makes sense.
It does make sense, but you know what's a little bit annoying about it? It will decrease it.
Yep. Even if you
have full energy,
yep.
You have full energy and you go to sleep on your boat, you now have half energy.
Yep. Noticed that as well, and it was frustrating, but again, it still makes sense.
That bit doesn't.
It
that
does.
Bit doesn't.
Like, you could, like, just because I am
Don't
wonderful.
decrease my energy.
Like, think about it. If you have a really bad sleep, like, you could have been so restful. You could have had all the energy yesterday, but if, like, you woke up today only sleeping for 4 hours, you're gonna be miserable for the entirety of that day. I wouldn't have gone
to bed in the first place, right? Look, all I wanted was some more pineapples, and so I was just sleeping every night until I could get those pineapples.
I recently went camping, so I understand sleeping in a tent. how much less sleep I got in there. I still enjoyed it. We'll do it again, but I understand.
Yes, I think the interesting thing, I guess, about the two different bars is that sleeping doesn't refill your food bar.
Yep.
Which makes sense.
Yep. And it doesn't decrease, at least I didn't notice, it doesn't decrease throughout the day. It decreases on a daily basis. Correct me if I'm wrong with that.
Oh, is that what it was? I honestly wasn't paying attention enough. I just noticed occasionally it would be nearly empty and then I'd have to eat something.
Well,
but I guess that would make sense.
Towards the end when I was like rushing through, I wouldn't say rushing, but just doing koas. Because I stopped farming because I thought I didn't need money anymore, but turns out I do. So I had less use of using my energy, so I didn't mind so much sleeping in the boat.
Yeah.
But I did notice there were days where I wouldn't eat, and that would keep decreasing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I quite like it. It's quite an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it does mean that you do have to eat. And in most farming games, you don't have to eat. But it certainly, I guess one of the kind of themes we've seen in this is that they try for some things to be a lot more realistic.
Yep. Which I enjoy.
Which is fine.
I mean, that's kind of the point of a farming game, right? Like, you wish you could be a farmer in real life, but that takes a lot of energy and time, and why not do it in a video game instead?
I think so. Yeah, so that was energy, and it's interesting. Was there anything else about quests before we move on?
I don't think so.
There's not too much we can say about them without spoiling too much.
Yeah, I do like that it tells you when it's time to talk to that character again. To progress.
Yeah.
Story.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Right. So you'll come to the point, as you said, where it will say, "Oh, you need to advance Koa's, or you'll need to advance someone else's." But once you're at the point where you can get another quest, it will say, "Talk to X to get another quest."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Although you don't get a notification for that. You have to go into your quests and scroll down the list.
Keep checking. And like one very small mechanic that I enjoy is that once you're 100% completed, you no longer have to scroll through those quests. It just moves straight on to the next quest that you can't complete.
Yeah.
So it's a very small thing, but I like it. It took a while for me to get used to it because I was very confused why I kept flipping through pages so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, you press down 1 and you go down 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. So I guess we got to talk about sailing because we've not really talked about it.
Nope. I mean, we have, but not really.
We've talked about it in passing, but we haven't actually talked about it. But it's such a big part of the game.
Yep.
So the entire world, and I'm going to say world because I'm pretty sure it's a world.
Yeah.
Is one large archipelago. So you are constantly sailing between islands. And when I say constantly, I mean like all the time.
All the time. Once you get the boat, that's all you're doing. I mean that and other things, of course, like running and planting, but
I mean, unless you go unless you purposefully spend a few days on your island farming and just not doing things, that you're going to be sailing places all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's really fun.
It is. I enjoy it a lot. I love the open sea mechanic, or the animation of being in open sea, like the waves going up and down, the boat going up and down. Like I'm sad when I get too close to an island and I slow down.
But that's really cool as well, right? Because the sea calms down when you're near an island, and then when you're between islands, it's much more rocky, which is just a really fun little thing.
Yep.
And I guess, have you crashed into many boats?
Oh yes, because sometimes
it's so ridiculous.
Before I'd realized that fast travel was I'm never probably gonna ever use fast travel, but before I knew that I could do that across the map, I would just sometimes press the button to keep me going forward in the direction that I need to go, and let my mind wander for a little bit, and all of a sudden there's a boat.
Yeah, so for those who haven't played, you just you bash into a boat and that's it. Like nothing happens. It just slows you down.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I almost wish there was like someone yelling at you.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
And I guess like the whole reason that you're sailing is because Koa wants to be an adventurer. Like she's really excited. Like she loves her island, but she also is excited about getting to know Mara a lot more and a lot better. So she's like really excited to go out and explore and see new islands and meet new folks. And there is restrictions on that, so you can upgrade your boat 3 times, or is it two times?
It's just two updates, yeah. 2 upgrades.
Which will increase the radius of your map.
And then once you've got the full map, you can wrap around side to side, as I mentioned before, which is quite nice.
Mm-hmm. I just found that out today.
I think we're seeing a difference between me and you. I'll just go, I wonder if this happens, and then I do it, and it does.
No, I did it accidentally. I was like, oh no, wait a minute, where did I go? Did I fall off? Did I fall off the cliff? So Mara's round. It's not flat.
Well, it's not. I find it also, up until that point, I just didn't know whether this was just a part of a planet or whether it was the whole planet.
Yeah.
Whereas that is like, yeah, there's nothing else here.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine like the reason why you can't go north and south, like across at the end of the map, is just because ice is covered and you cannot physically maneuver through it.
That's my assumption. Either that or it's a cylinder.
Well, I did try. And at least in the northern part of the map, and there were ice blocking me from going north. So
is it specifically ice? Does it show you ice? Oh, interesting. I never actually tried because I was just on the square with the volcano. I just saw that it showed a padlock at the bottom, and I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if I've still not unlocked something, or whether you just can't go off the sides. And then I realized you can go off the sides, but just not top to bottom. I never actually tried to do it.
I like how we try different things. So I was like, oh, I want to go north, but I can't. Okay, I tried that. I never tried to go south. I never tried to go east or west, but I tried north.
But yeah, sailing's fun.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of introduces you to 2 mechanics as well. Like one, you're already introduced to fishing, so there's definitely fishing available on some islands.
Why have I not got fishing on the list? Right, yes, let's talk about fishing.
I had it down later on, but we can definitely discuss it now. I hate it.
Yes,
I hate
let's
fishing.
talk about that now.
I hate it so much.
So I guess there's 2 interesting things about the fishing. One is that you've got specific places where you can fish.
Yep. Which I kind of
enjoy.
So it's not like well, not that I enjoy it, but it makes sense. Kind of. Maybe I don't know.
It's fine. I meh it. I don't whatever. But obviously this does lead to then like specific fish are in specific places, and I don't mean in the kind of normal farming game like, oh, you can get these fish in. No, I mean every individual fishing point is just for one particular fish.
And very like you only have 2 or 3 uses with that one location a day.
Yeah. Good luck trying to remember.
Yep, there's a lot of Googling. I have a map constantly open on my computer right now that shows where all the fishing locations are located. Although part of it's in Russian, so I still need to go Googling.
Some of them are on land and some of them are at sea, which you can get to from the boat. But the other interesting thing is, so you need bait for it, but each different one has a specific bait, or I guess there's some that share bait. So it's not like every single fish has a different bait, but there's like, 8 bait or something like that?
7.
7
different
types.
So
close.
Well, because I have this this key open right now. 7 different kinds. So there's the common worm, silkworm, lara, dragonfly, orange leech, luminous worm, and prawn or shrimp. So I mean, that's an interesting. Like I kind of like that aspect of it. It's annoying in the sense like 1, you have to find the fish, and then 2, you have to make sure you have the right bait for it. But like in a thematic sense, it makes sense that fish will prefer to eat other things than other fish.
I think my issue is like having both of those mechanics kind of makes it a bit frustrating. If you had either you go to a specific location or you have different bait for different fish, that I think would make it less annoying and just interesting.
Yeah, like I already said I hated fishing, but it's interesting, but I don't do it unless I am forced to. Whereas like in Stardew, I enjoy it.
Do you hate the actual mechanics of fishing, or is it just
I think both. Well, because so there's the mechanic of fishing involves pressing. It gives you a letter button to press, and you have to press it within a certain ring of how I don't know how to explain that.
Time.
It's
it's basically a specific time, but yeah.
And then you have like the bar that you have to move up and down, or in this case it's left and right to reel it in. And each time you fish, you have to use one piece of thread. So there's actually 3 components to fishing. There's the bait, there's the location, and the availability of thread.
Although I'm not quite sure if I understood it properly, but is it not the case that you only use up the thread if it breaks?
I don't know. I think it uses it up every time. But
interesting, because I don't think I had that much thread. I'm sure.
I don't know.
We'll need to
lots of thread.
We'll need to investigate. But yeah, so you have, when you're fishing and you're moving left to right, if you've got the kind of the acceptability bar is over where the fish is, then you're using up the time until you've caught the fish. But if it's out with it, you're using up the time until your thread breaks and you lose the fish.
And
I never lost a fish.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know whether I'm just amazing at this.
Even with squids?
Yeah.
Even with squids?
Yeah, no, even with squids. It was, sure, the squid was difficult, right? But the thread never even got to like halfway.
Oh. And the first few times, there's so many times with the squid that it was just impossible. Like occasionally you will have like, it will like, the bar will just like randomly go back and forth real quick.
Yeah.
But there was definitely instances of me trying to catch the squid where it never slowed down.
It was a pattern though. You just have to learn the pattern.
I don't think so. I think it's random.
I don't, maybe the squid is, but like most of them have a very specific pattern.
Most of them were fine. It was the squid that mostly gave me the problem.
Well, to be fair, I only ever caught one squid, because I think you only ever had to do one for the tasks, and then I never did it again. Or maybe it was 2.
Well, you need it to make ink, and ink is expensive, I was never going to spend money on ink.
You do, but you can also just come across ink in the ocean.
Well, the luck was just not, it was not there for me when I was trying to catch those squids, or trying to find ink.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any real issues with it, and it was fine. Like, I've never been a huge fan of fishing mechanics in any of these games. This one was fine. I didn't hate it.
Although, like, I never tested this out or looked into it too much, but you do get other fishing rods and other bobbers later on throughout. So I don't know if that that makes the process easier.
Probably, but I never really...
Probably. Maybe that's why, squids, I just caught 2 squid, and it wasn't too bad. So maybe it is easier now for me.
So I guess the other thing we've not discussed is mining.
Oh, diving. So
diving.
Mechanic from
go with diving
sailing
first.
Yeah, so that's something that's not even introduced until you're out on the water. But on your small quadrant of map, if you see like a flag anywhere on the map, that's either that's only a diving location. I thought it could also be a fish, but no, it will. If there's fish, it shows a fish symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in order to dive, you need to purchase diving goggles, and that's not just a one and done like tool that you can have. You have to purchase multiple diving goggles, because every time you dive, you lose the goggles somehow.
More of this disposable culture.
Yep. And there's definitely several quests that require you to go diving in search of treasure or something they've lost. And they never quite tell you where to go. And I got a little frustrated with diving.
Diving
'Cause I
is
was doing too much.
dreadful.
So it took me a while to realize that bubbles give you more air.
Oh,
Did you?
I think
Is that something you realized?
I think I figured that out quite early, but
I did not.
I don't know whether they told
I've
me.
done a lot of diving.
I don't know whether they told me or whether
Nope.
it was just kind of obvious because, like, I don't know, all games that I played were in the past or were underwater, there were bubbles that you could do, like, you know, Sonic and stuff like that. You would always go and eat the bubbles and get more air, which makes no sense.
No sense,
But yeah, no,
somehow.
I hated the diving. I did it the 3 or 4 times you needed to in the story and never again because it just does not feel worth it for what you can get.
Yeah.
And it's
Like
annoying.
if there's more ink in there, you know, maybe I would have gone diving a little bit more often.
Well, the problem is as well, you have to buy the diving goggles, so you have to pay to go diving, right?
Yeah. And there's only NoHo who's the diving.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he's the only
Monopoly.
one who sells them. Or there might be a pirate who also sells them. I'm not sure. But his shop's only open from like 10 to 1500 too. I think it's a very small window.
Yeah.
So not only do you have to go buy them only from him, you have to make sure he's open when you go in search of them. And you can only buy 5 a day. That's like another interesting mechanic. Like
Yes.
any item in any shop, they only have a quantity of 5.
Yep. And most
per day.
and most things that you need for one of the quests, you'll always need 6.
Yes, just to extend it just one more day, or make you go make it yourself.
Yeah, of course, because like you could buy the seeds, and the seeds would always give you more than if you were just buying them, but then it takes longer again. So now we can talk about mining.
Yes, indeed.
So mining is interesting in this game. There's basically you've got these little knobs that are just out in the real world that are little rocks with like bits sitting on them, and you break them up and you get the stuff. It's not that complicated. It's quite limiting, especially at the beginning of the game. But as you go on, there are islands that have specifically, like there's a gold island, there's a silver island, and they have a lot of rocks on them that you can break up. And at some point, quite early on, you can build a mine on your island, which respawns every so often.
I'm not sure what the respawn rate is. I don't think I've quite figured that out for anything.
No.
No.
But to be honest, like most of these things, you're not going into them like every day anyway, so it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah. Although I would in the mine, I think if I needed to, but
I'd just go to one of the islands that have stuff.
Well, that was like a way for me to like not have to spend time sailing. Like if I only needed silver, then like I just noticed that there's a silver, copper, and gold. Okay, that those are the names. But I knew of certain places where I could find silver. Like there's one node on the hill up to Samey's place.
Although they change as you go on, I think.
No, there's always. I think for the most part, I think the nodes are always the same.
Because I don't remember at the beginning seeing a gold node there, but there is one later on.
Well, maybe as you unlock them.
That's what I'm wondering. Or maybe it's just that I was not paying attention.
Or it could be that too. I have no idea. And every node only has 3 hits.
Yeah.
So you can only harvest it 3 times before it just disappears.
Yep. And
there is no endless.
And it can just be rock.
Sense of mining. Yep, it could only be rock, and you're limited to 99, which I discovered later on, and I was very frustrated with, because it's like, why does it keep going to 98
so annoying.
to 99?
I don't know how many rocks I wasted, rocks and wood that I wasted because I didn't turn them into something before harvesting more. Oh,
I was always short on wood, actually, so I never had to worry about wood getting maxed out, but I wish I would have known. I could have made so many clay bars.
Yeah, that one does feel a bit weird. It doesn't really feel like it makes any sense lore-wise, because it's like every other way in the game, you don't care about what's in your bag, right? So why would you care that you have 99 of one specific thing? And it really...
Well, because 100 rocks is too heavy for Koa to carry around.
But you can pick up another 50
fine.
gold easily, just not one more rock.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does feel like that was probably an oversight in that most of the time you don't have 99 of anything. It's really only rock, and just nobody's really thought about it.
Or just that people maybe the idea is just to keep crafting things as you notice them piling up.
If that was the case, I would feel like it would tell you at some point. But you just suddenly notice, oh wait, that went down to 98 and back up to 99.
Yeah, that's a good point. There should have been some sort of like animation. Although that would have gotten very annoying after a while. Because if you let yourself max it out, and every time you mined a rock, it would tell you, "Oh, you can't carry any more of these."
I'm sure you could figure out a good way to do it, but realistically, I just think they shouldn't have that cap, right? I don't think that cap makes any sense. It's literally just a number. Just give it another digit.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Maybe it was something in design. They didn't want anything with 3 digits. I don't know.
It's just another one of these minor things.
Small complaints.
I think that's all the mechanics and stuff, which is good because we're like nearly 2 hours into this.
Yeah. You can expand the mine. I haven't yet. I'm almost ready to. But you can expand the mine. So I'm not sure what comes after that.
The only thing I don't have is fireworks, and I have no idea how to get them, but I'm sure I'll get them at one of the quests that I've not finished yet. So yeah, I think that's most of the mechanics and stuff. There's a few things that I want to talk about, just kind of general things about the game. I think the only two things that I'm looking at in my list that we've not talked about, other than your last bit, we'll talk about that in the conclusion, I think. One is that there are very few invisible walls in this game.
Yep.
Which is great, but it means that the few that exist are really annoying.
Yes, I completely agree.
So I have found like 3 invisible walls that have really annoyed me. So one that you find quite early on is on Callus, like coming down from Sammy's lighthouse at the big steps. There's an invisible wall there. If you jump just before the steps, you can jump all the way down. If you jump after the steps, you can jump all the way down, but you can't jump off the steps. Really annoying.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because you can jump over most things.
Yes.
Like you can jump clear over walls. Like it doesn't make any sense how this child can jump so high, but you can.
I don't care about that. I love it. It's great, right? But the second is that you can't jump into in fact, I guess these are 2 places. So both Akaji and Akila's houses, you can't jump over their fences.
Yep.
Which is, I think, the only fences you can't jump over in the whole game. And I get what it's doing. It's so you can't go in there and do something when it's closed. But it also feels like I should be able to do this.
You should be able to explore.
Yeah.
When they're sleeping. There is, I think, a few buildings inside Callus that also have walls that you can't jump over.
Right.
But it's just like 1 or 2 places.
Yeah.
Like
But the final one that really annoyed me was the volcano island.
Was that trying to get to the top?
Yeah. There's hardly any of the island you can actually go on, and there's this massive invisible wall all the way around it. And it took me ages to figure out what was happening because I was like, am I jumping wrong?
I kept trying to go up.
I just don't understand. It's it's such a weird. It's because they're so good at not doing that, right? You can jump from the top of your house into the sea, right? But you can't go to this top of this volcano, and it just feels really weird.
Yeah, like I guess I would say maybe the volcano would make sense if it's an active one, so they just wouldn't want you to jump into it. I don't know. There are, I think, 1 or 2 other islands that had outcroppings like that were too tall for you to jump onto. I think, or even just some islands that like the cliff like on the edge of the island was too sheer for you to jump onto.
See, that's okay.
Annoying.
I'm totally okay with that, and that's actually probably the way they should have done the volcano one.
No, I want to be able to climb up this mountain, up this island any way that I want to. Like I am okay with not getting to the top of the volcano, but if you restrict me from climbing up this island because I decided to park my boat on this side of the island.
No, but I mean, that makes sense, right? You can't just jump up any cliff, right? You have a limit to how high you can jump. But the weird thing about the volcano is that there are ledges. You just physically can't get onto them because there's something invisible blocking you from jumping onto it. But I can jump high enough. That's the weird thing. If they really didn't want us to get up to the top of the volcano, you just make it a sheer face you can't jump up. Why is it annoying?
Do you think it's a DLC? Do you think there's something up there that they're restricting us because they're going to show us something later?
Maybe. I wouldn't
because it
get any
definitely
hopes
feels
up.
like there should be something up there.
Yeah, I feel like there's always something, right? This game rewards you from going to random places. And so I want to get up there. That's the problem.
I think the other island that annoyed me was the Forbidden Outcrop.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can't get into that at all, but you can see stuff.
You can hear people inside. You can hear them, but you can't join them. Yeah. It's awful.
So the other thing that, and this is really nitpicking, right?
Yes.
But the other thing that annoyed me was animals. And that is that when your animal goes into your boat, which, by the way, I absolutely love.
Oh my God.
Sailing around with a pig and a sheep in the front of my boat is amazing.
All three animals sometimes.
But when they're in there, they're always a pink pig, a white sheep, and a chick, but the chick's always the same colour. But when you get back to your island, they're not necessarily that colour.
Yep.
So I have had 4 sheep. Every single one of them has been white in the boat, but when I get back to the island, it's black. And it's like, why is it changing the colour? And it's just such a it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They've evolved.
But it's so annoying.
They're now yours, so they've evolved.
So it's just like, I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter, but it's really, I want to know what colour my animal's going to be, right? It's just so confusing.
So what, so you
it's
can
like
throw
I got
them
back
back into
and I
the
went,
ocean if you don't like it?
No, it's just like you just want to know what you have, right? So it's just confusing when you roll up to your island with a white sheep in your, or a white sheep in your boat, and then you go up to where your sheep are and there's no white sheep and you're just really confused.
I was confused, I think, at first, and then I just accepted it. What frustrated me more about the animals in the boats was that they restricted my movement in the boat.
Yes.
I thought that's what you were going to be annoyed with, not the color, but the movement.
Look, you underestimate my ability to get really annoyed by pointless things. Yeah, no, that was a little bit annoying, but I just kind of, whatever. That makes sense, right? There's an animal there, it's in your way, whatever. But my animal changing colour, that makes no sense.
Although, you can climb, you can step onto animals, which is quite alarming. There's crabs on the island. That's one thing we forgot to mention.
Oh, yes.
You have crabs on your home island that you can feed and also pet. There's no friendship bar with them, so I don't know if they love me or not, but you can feed them. But there's also times when I can feed them when I'm standing on top of them.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, I think that's everything regarding mechanics and what's annoyed me. Is there anything else you want to bring up about those things?
I feel like we covered everything.
Well, I mean, we spent enough time doing it, right?
Yes.
So I feel like let's not, unless there's anything in particular you want to cover regarding characters, I think let's not do that because the podcast has been going on for so long. I think,
and it might give away spoilers because again, this is a story.
Yeah, so
story-based story.
What might
game? Sorry.
What might be nice is at some point, I don't know whether we'll actually do this or not, but it might be nice if we do another podcast at some point. It might be with you, might be with Rochelle, might be with both of you, who knows, where we go a bit more into detail about characters, and that could be we'll just spoil anything in that.
Yeah, because then you could cover the story. I fully support this.
Well, let's figure that out if we're going to do that at some point. But I feel like we just won't do justice to the characters if we just talk about them quickly, because I don't want this podcast to go on forever. So let's finish up with a few things. firstly, I guess you put an interesting question on it, which is your favorite island.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to answer first, or because you technically wrote it down, do you want me to answer first?
You can go first.
I'll go first then. I really like the one that you can go to quite early on, which is the Love Letter Cave.
Oh, that's so good.
It's a really nice one, right? Because what was it called? Was it Puni Cave?
It was Puni Cave, because I remember thinking like, oh, it's not on the map. How can I find this?
Yeah.
Cool.
I really like that because it was like one of the first islands you go to. It's your first proper exploration, I feel like, because you go to Callus first, obviously, but then you can go to this place straight afterwards. And it was really kind of exciting because it's like there was some extra stuff in there. There were some barrels to break. There was some food to steal that someone had. And there was some water. It was like a really kind of nice combination of a bunch of things. And it was an island, but it was a cave. I really like that one. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's definitely a top tier, because it was like, as you said early on, it kind of I think rewarded you for fully sailing around like this island, because you could have just easily gone to Puni Island or Puni Cave and just explored like the top part of it and never realized that there was this love cave at the bottom that you had to sail into, if not for the fact that you explored it properly. So it was just a nice, I think, introduction to the exploring. Yeah,
but it also then has like loads of story later on as well, which obviously we won't talk about. But like, there's a quest really late into the game, which you can actually do after the main quest is finished, which adds more to that, which is really interesting. What about you? What's your favorite island then?
I would have to say Black Volcano.
Good shout. Other than the annoyance about it, but.
I feel like it's one of the more exotic islands that you kind of are introduced to first, and it's just so beautiful. Like the different colors, like Dana's islands, Dana's like location. Like I just want to live there. Essentially, like it's the island that I want to live on.
It's real nice, yeah. There's
a lot of cool things to explore. A lot of different parts of the island that don't always correlate with the like other half of it. So it's just. I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah, good show.
Although Iron Colossus was real cool to find.
So, here's a question for you.
Yes.
What would you mark this game out of 7?
Oh, I hate these questions.
All right. Okay. Well, let's change that then. Play or not play.
Play. I mean, I could easily say 6 or 7 out of 7.
Ooh, wow.
Well, yeah. I don't know, because this is my interpretation of it. Like, I don't know what the replayability value is of it, but I enjoyed playing it now. Like, I would probably give it a few years for me to forget like everything that happens before I'd ever try to replay it. But
I think it's the most story-driven farming game I've played. In so much as like that's the purpose of it. Like obviously things like Stardew and most story seasons games have a lot of story in them from the characters. There's not like anything driving it through, whereas this very definitely has, here is our main storyline and lots of things branching off it.
Which I almost kind of like, because I don't know about you, but I've been kind of just exhausted with so many games nowadays never have an end to it. And this clearly has an end, like a completion goal. There's 100% like at least with the quest. Sure, you can keep farming and living your life on this world for as long as you want, but there's definitely an end to the plot and the quests and stuff. So I like that aspect of it. What would you rate it as?
I'd say probably a 5. It's a really good game. I really like it, but it takes a lot to get up higher than a 5, I think.
This is why I don't like ratings, because I don't know what I don't rate things. Like what's a 7 out of 7? What does that look like? I have no idea.
No, that's fair. I think I would say it's a very good game. If you like farming games and you like story-driven games, it is definitely a game that you should play. It's a very enjoyable game. There's, we've had a lot of complaints about it, but they're all small things. They're all nitpicky things. This game is really good in so many ways, and it's especially impressive how good a game with such kind of, because it's a 3D game, you know, the graphics look lovely. It's a really nice style. And it's quite impressive how well it is done with all that. Like, these types of games can be dreadful, right? There's a lot of good in them, but then they're not fun to play, or there's something really annoying about how you're moving in the game. Like, it takes a lot for me to like a 3D game. And I really liked this game.
I haven't played Portia, and I think that's what you're referring to with the 3Ds.
Portia is special. It's also a very nice port to the Switch, which is obviously good. I don't feel like it's kind of tacked on. It feels like a nice port, like it's been done well. And it probably helps that it was, focused on Switch as its first console port. And it especially helps, I think it was like 80% of people who kickstarted the game wanted it on Switch. So that probably helped a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's my main, at least when picking consoles, like that's my main consideration was how do they originally intention the game to be played, but which console? Yeah. I would probably stick to that. Like if it was on PC versus Switch, because I like, especially with my time in Porsche, at least the things that I've heard, like the Switch has